All right, guys, welcome back to Maverick Tactical, where we're all about personal protection, tactical gear, and keeping you safe. You may have seen one of our last videos when we had Dave Joslin here, a seasoned and expert on the line of first aid. And we wanted to bring him back and show us the IFAK kit and show us how each item works and what it's all about. So we're gonna hand it over to him, and I'm gonna let him take it over. Thanks, guys.
Guys, I'm gonna hop in here real quick. Just want to let you know Black Friday is coming up, of course, very soon, and we are gonna run a ton of deals. First things first, you need to go to our website and sign up to our newsletter to be the first to know about these deals. We're gonna be sending out at least weekly emails letting you know exactly what's gonna be on sale. But that's gonna include all Agilite gear is gonna be on sale, all of our plates, all the helmets on our website. We even are gonna have probably pepper gel on sale. So make sure you check out the website and be the first to know by signing up to the newsletter. And yeah, we can't wait to see you there. Now back to the video.
Again, folks, I'm David Joslin, a retired Army combat medic. I served in the military for 20 years. I have deployments to both Iraq and Afghanistan. Did some other cool training. So spent the better part of my life using emergency and first aid equipment. So today I'm gonna go over some of the items commonly found in your IFAKs, your individual first aid kits. Specifically, I'm gonna break down the Blue Force Gear IFAK fill, which you can get pre-packaged and that loads out your IFAK. So the first thing that we're gonna talk about is the Hyphen chest seal. One thing that you'll know is it comes with two. And the reason that it comes with two is a lot of times when people get shot up front, they have an exit wound in the back, right? And so the purposes of these is to control an open chest wound that can progress into a tension pneumothorax, which can be very deadly. So what these are designed to do is seal off that open chest wound to keep air from filling up in the lungs and creating that tension pneumothorax. So if you have somebody with a chest wound and you're going to start treating that, not only do you look for the entrance wound, but you also have to feel around the back and look for an exit wound. They may not have one depending on what they're shot with, the type of weapon or projectile that was used. But if you see an entry wound, you always have to check for an exit wound, which is why these come in a 2-pack. Next is combat gauze. I love combat gauze. I've used this unfortunately quite a few times. These are Z-folded. The reason that they come packaged in a Z-fold, if you remember the old days, the Curlex that were just the rolls, you can see them on many shows where they've got just rolls of gauze that they're using to treat kind of extremity wounds or wounds that need to be packed. Invariably, in reality, when people use that, somebody drops it and it just rolls away and now it's dirty and it's out of control and you don't have it available. The folks at Quick Clot discovered that if you fan fold it in a Z pattern, you can hold it in one hand and you can use your index finger or your thumb and you can just feed it into a wound to pack that wound, right? Now these are impregnated with a chitosan. I believe it's a chitosan compound. It's a hemostatic agent, so not only does packing the wound help control the bleeding, but it's got a compound in it that helps promote clotting. So that's how you would help control bleeding. Next in the bleeding control is an emergency trauma dressing, or an ETD. This one is made specifically by 1110. NAR makes some. First Choice, or First Care rather, makes some. They're all relatively the same. They're really good. It is a bulky pressure dressing that basically has an elastic ACE wrap on it. So you can apply pressure and get a dressing over the wound, and then you can use the built-on ACE wrap to help constrict and put pressure down to help control the bleeding as well. On the IFAK on top of me and Patrick's kits are tourniquets. In the last video that I had a chance to do with Patrick, we talked about tourniquets in a little bit of detail, but again, that's for an extremity wound where somebody could exsanguinate or bleed out and lose their life from major arterial bleed. So you would want to get one of those on above the wound and you want to crank until the bleeding stops, right? As a point of caution for somebody who's never treated extreme trauma, if you're putting a tourniquet on somebody, they're not going to be very happy with you if they are conscious, because you're going to have to put a lot of painful pressure on that limb to get that bleeding to stop. You should expect them to wiggle, scream, and make up a couple of names for you, but that's the best thing for them at the time. Next is nasal pharyngeal airway is the fancy term for a nasal trumpet. This actually goes in the nose to protect the airway, and it creates a direct line to the junction of the oropharynx and the nasopharynx, where the back of your throat and your mouth or your nose meet in the back of your throat there to try to protect the airway. So if you have the beauty of this and why they put one of these in versus the old-fashioned plastic J tubes that you would see, you can put these in on a conscious patient and you're really not going to do anything to them but maybe annoy them. But you're trying to protect them and give them a patent airway, so you want to make sure that you get this in. All IFAKs come with a set of gloves, especially if you're using your IFAK out at a gun range or your first aid kit just out in public. You don't know what medical history or diseases who you're working on, what they might have. You don't know if you're going to come in contact with a bloodborne pathogen. So universal precautions, you always want to make sure that you glove up because you're trying to protect other people, but at the same time you want to be able to protect yourself. This little bugger right here is for needle chest decompression. If you heard or saw the last video, Patrick and I talked kind of in detail about these. These are to be used by medically trained people only. This, a lot of times, is used in conjunction with this. When you put chest seals on somebody, if they actually do have a tension pneumothorax and you have to relieve that or decompress that, this is the device that you would need to do that with. This should really only be used by trained professionals. There are certain landmarks of where you would insert this to decompress that. And just for the sake of everyone's safety, I'm not going to go into those landmarks because I wouldn't want to give an untrained person kind of the tools for wreaking havoc. And then just some tape. It's always good to have tape with you for a variety of reasons. I've taped injuries closed before, sometimes because of sweat, grit, grime, dirt, sand, whatever. Dressings don't like to stay in place. You can get your occlusive dressing or the chest seal on, and blood and sweat could be causing that to slip and slide. You can use secondary tape to tape that in place. Those are kind of the basic components that are included in the Blue Force Gear IFAK. See that there on the overhead. Some other kits also come with a survival blanket. I can't tell you how important those are to carry. They take up no room at all. They can be used for a variety of things, primarily controlling the body temperature if somebody does have a major injury where they're bleeding out or they have a sucking chest wound or any other kind of major trauma. Controlling the body temperature and making sure that they don't get hypothermic or get hypothermia, their body temperature cooling down. You want to get them wrapped up and kind of packaged because with any blood loss, the heat goes with it. So you want to protect them as well. If you're out and you get stranded somewhere and the temperature starts dropping at night, like it is in North Carolina right now, again, they'll fit in your pocket, they'll fit in the corner of a backpack, and they take up no room, hardly any weight at all, and that's a really good piece of kit to keep with you for just about any kind of an emergency. If you are climbing on a mountain and you get stranded and you hear helicopters coming, you can use those to signal as well. They're highly reflective. The emergency trauma dressings, as I mentioned, they come in a variety of sizes. These are a couple of the types that I carried with me in Iraq and Afghanistan that were very heavily relied on and used. And then another piece to keep with you, depending on what you're doing, SAM splints in some standard ACE wraps, some ACE bandages. a typical day at the range, you could be range walking, right? Because you don't run on the firing range. But if you're range walking to get off the range, or you trip and somebody rolls an ankle, SAM splints could be molded and folded to create a splint to stabilize that until somebody of higher medical training comes to either get them out or you drive them out. So as we talked about in the first video, to try to pull all this into this one here, there's a variety of tools available to you. A lot of these are fairly inert. You're really not gonna do a lot of damage to people. The tourniquets and the needle chest decompression kits might be a little bit different. So I say that going back to the training piece. When you get your IFAK, what I like to do when I get any kind of medical equipment or any kind of new device at all, if it's something that I need to train with, I'll buy a training device, and then I will buy the ones that I actually carry. So my tourniquets, whenever I order new tourniquets or they come out with a new generation of them, instead of buying 3 or 4, which I normally need to keep in my IFAK, my car first aid kit, and my range kit, I'll buy 5 or 6. That way I get a couple extra so I can train with. It gets expensive. Being prepared comes with a cost, right? But is an extra $30 or $40 in having 2 tourniquets instead of only needing 1. You compare that to what you could do with it and save somebody's life. There's a balance there. The other thing to talk about with first aid kits, we've broken down the IFAK. The one thing that I think is important to know is kind of layers of first aid kits, right? Your IFAK or your individual first aid kit, or you can have an immediate first aid kit, right? That's small, condensed, specific for kind of the most tragic injuries that you can think of. From there, your second layer kit would not necessarily be for immediate trauma, or it could be to plus up or have additional resources for immediate trauma, but it could be for some other injuries. You could have an immediate trauma kit, and then you could have some stuff to take care of orthopedic injuries or other types of non-life-threatening injuries, but something that you would want to treat fairly quickly. And then a third layer, like what I consider my vehicle-based kit, that's a pretty large kit that can treat multiple people, and it treats a variety of different things that could happen, from major trauma to cuts and scrapes. So as we talked about in the first video, again, think about your first aid kit, think about why you want to carry it, think about the training you need to utilize it and deploy it properly, think about the things that you would want to put into it, and then train and make sure you know how to use it. So I'd like to thank Patrick and Maverick Tactical for having me back on the show. If you do enjoy the content and having me on the show, let Patrick and his team know and put some comments in there. And always, with everything else, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, be that playground crack dealer, and tell all your friends about it and know where to go for good tactical information.